and welcome back to our series on building the fastest Tomcat in the world, probably. Now it may look like the car has gone backwards in progress since last time you were here, but I have in fact been very busy. So to start the episode, I'm going to whiz round and show you what I've been up to. I fitted a wiring box to house the ECU and the gearbox controller. Fitted myself a battery box. I've fitted the fuel tank, which meant chopping the A-frame crossmember completely in half so that the fuel tank would sit properly. Tacked up an exhaust out of bits that I had lying around. And the last thing that I've done is fit this super lightweight rear crossmember from Tomcat. And it's quite good that I've finished here because it leads me on to my first job of fitting this crossmember here. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I need to consider the amount of force that the axle puts on the chassis legs when they're going side to side. Now we've removed the old crossmember, which was quite a large bit of steel. That gave the supports to the chassis leg all the way at this end to stop them going out or coming in on themselves. And we've fitted this now, which is just a 2mm piece of steel. It's not going to support anything. So what we really need to do is provide a bit more strength between the chassis legs, which is hopefully what this piece of metal is going to do. Once that crossmember was in, it was finally time to start working on the rear tub section of the frame. Now, interestingly enough, well, I found it interesting. I was given some advice about building this section of the frame and about how it needs to be inherently weak. And you might think, well, Lawrence, that's the worst advice given to anyone ever, but there is a very good reason for it. Now, if we have an accident or any kind of impact to the rear part of this bodywork, we want the frame to bend and crumple rather than being strong enough to bend the main cage or even the chassis legs. Right then, it's time for the interior, and obviously there's an incredible amount of things to do in here, but I like to do things in my own way, which is do the exciting things first and then do the really boring things afterwards. And the really exciting thing I wanted to show you is my new gear shifter. Because we're using the 8 HP gearbox from BMW, we have the opportunity to use it as a sequential gearbox, and for that we need a sequential shifter. And I have bought one, look at it, it's beautiful. I am so excited to mount this. I have wanted one of these for so many years. It's going to be mounted just here, and it'll be so good. Let's just go, let's do it now, please. Now, I know what you're thinking here. Lawrence, that glass fibre material will not be strong enough to hold that gear shifter. Well, don't worry, because what you can't see is that I've welded a metal platform underneath that flat surface just to give it a bit more support. That is cool. Then it was time to do the flooring for the cab, and of course the first job was to remove the very thing I had just fitted so that I could get the centre console out. But at least I had a small dopamine boost to keep me motivated to get it closer to the finishing line. I was pretty pleased with the floors and how they turned out, being honest. I don't have a sheet bender, but they still turned out alright. Right then, the next job for us is to do the seat belts. We've got 6-point harnesses, and that means that we've got 2 going over the back of the seat, 2 going out of the side of the seat, and then 2 that go out of the bottom of the seat. And at each of those points, we need to have one of these, which is a little eyelet for it to clip to. Thank you very much, Demon Tweak, for sending us these. The points on the floor are going to be dead easy because we'll just be able to drill a hole in the floor, put a little plate, weld a little plate to the chassis, and that'll all be flat. They'll be dead easy. But the backs need a little bit more thinking about. Usually what would happen is the seat belts would go up through the seats and then back to this point here on the backstay. But because of the vast size of the radiator that we're using, we can't do that because the seat belts would have to either go through the radiator or around it, and that's not really very good. So I've put this extra bar in here so that seat belts can go over it and then down and get fixed something down here. There's a couple of ways you can fix them down here. I've seen a lot of people build new sort of roll cage sections that come up to here with a plate on top and fix the 2 eyelets to there. I don't really like that because I don't really like it. The other option, and the option that we're going with, is by building a cross-section piece that goes sort of over here to the centre of this cage. And there's 2 reasons why I have chosen this way of doing it. One is that I think it looks better, and number 2 is that it's going to help us as well with the bodywork when we come to finish it, specifically the back of the bodywork here, because when we come to build the bodywork, it actually starts on the outside of the cage at the top, and then when it gets about halfway, which is about here, it transfers, sort of bends, and then comes on the inside and follows this angle that the center console creates. And usually when people bend it here, it's unsupported, and I think it looks a bit naff. So when we actually come to do it, it will be supported by this sort of ledge that we've created, or shelf, and then it will go and follow this line down. I think that'll be brilliant. Seatbelts, tick. And once they were approved by a rigorous safety test performed by our Lawrence and the Machine health and safety expert, we moved on to making the rear bodywork, and as ever with this sort of job, it involves fitting and removing the panel about 6 million times. So strap in. Right, I've run into a small problem. And to explain the problem to you, I need to take you a little bit into the background of how I actually film these videos so that you'll understand it. So next we're moving on to the doors. Gull-wing doors, I'm very excited about having gull-wing doors getting mounted up here. Now when I'm filming these videos, if there's ever two of something to do, I'll always do one side on camera and then I'll turn to you guys and I'll just crack on with the other side because you've seen me do this side and it would be boring to watch me do it again. What that actually means is that I've already done the other side so that when I come on here and present it to you, I look like I know what I'm talking about, which is obviously not true. When I've come to do this side, I've found out that the panel that I have to fit in this gap here isn't correct. Now when I bought this car, it came with 3 doors effectively. It came with a driver's door, which is a panel to fit in this gap. And it also came with a driver and passenger side door, which were full length. So this actually fits just in here. It just goes all the way down to the bottom, which isn't the sort of doors that I'm making. Now I assumed when I got these doors that I'd just be able to chop these off, put a frame in here, and then it'd just work. Unfortunately, it hasn't really worked like that because these, well, especially here and all the way along here, they are slightly different. I have since spoken to Tomcat and sent them pictures of these, and they don't know anything about them. They said someone's made them out of a mould that they've just had sat there, and that's the reason why they are significantly different. So I thought, right, okay, well, I'm gonna have to buy a passenger door from Tomcat. I haven't actually ordered one yet because they haven't sent me a price, but they did tell me that the lead time will be at least 6 weeks. And last time they said the lead time would be 6 weeks, it was actually 12 weeks. Now, even if it was 6 weeks, that takes us to just 2 weeks before the first race. So as I see it, we have 3 main options. We can either wait the 6 weeks until the door arrives, make the hinges properly, and then I can weld to the cage without needing to grind any powder coating off the cage. That's not really preferable because then I would have to build the entire car in just 2 weeks, and that includes sending it off to be powder coated, so I would probably lose maybe a week whilst it's away, so I'd have to build it all in a week. That's not going to happen, obviously. The second option is to just crack on, get it all powder coated and everything, and when the door does arrive, I'd then be fitting these hinges and crying whilst I'm grinding all the powder coating off to do some welding on the cage up here. The final option is to measure what I've done on the other side and then try and replicate it, obviously in reverse, on this side, and then when the door eventually turns up, hopefully we'll just be able to make the mounts on the door itself, and then it will just work. That's the theory, and I think that's the one we're going to go with. There was always going to be hold-ups with all sorts of things with this project, and that's just one of them really. We've got an awful lot of things to do in a very short space of time. Right then, that's done, and hopefully they are in the correct place so that we can mount the door when it eventually turns up. Now this door malarkey has brought into sharp focus how little time I actually have for this project before we take it out for its first race. And because of that, I've made a list of everything that we still need to do before we actually take it, because I want, by the end of this episode, for this to be on a trailer and go into the powder coating place. That's how quick I want to ram through these, and my list is quite extensive. It started off as 1 A5, and then as I've been thinking of things, it's turned into sort of 1.5 A5 pieces of paper long. Stuff like mounting the wiper motor here, the handbrake lever needs to be mounted. There's quite a bit of welding that still needs to be done, as I've said in the first episode, that we've kind of left until the car comes to bits, so that all needs doing. I need to fit my air filter somewhere in the engine bay, wash wipe bottle and all the clips and everything that I need to do for that, wiring clips, I need to run around all the car, decide where all the wiring is going to run, as well as the axle breathers, brake pipes, fuel pipes, everything like that, and run clips and weld little clips to the chassis so that I can just cable tie them up really nice and easy. I need to finish the exhaust, which will go right to the back, so that I can make brackets and everything welded to the chassis for that. Fuel pump and filter bracket needs to go behind this panel here. Same with a compressor bracket for the high-low and diff lock, that's what I'm using. The battery mount needs completing. Light bar mounts, there's going to be one up here and one on the bumper. The front bumper needs mounting. I need to make a mount for the PMU, which is going in here. Rear cross member end welded in, which I've done already. I need to finish the shock towers because I was going to make that piece that goes in between them. And also on the driver's side, I've still got the little struts on the side, the helper struts to fit. Gullwing doors, which I've sort of done. Toe points I need to do. Bonnet hinges, door catches, brake pipe tabs. There's many things. Some of them are dead easy and some of them are not dead easy. I just had a quote back actually for, it's the same place who does all our powder coating and our blasting and everything, to fully sandblast this, zinc primer it and then get it powder coated is quoted me 1,200 quid, which I think is a dead good deal. And it's actually made me a bit more excited to get it to him and get it done. So I'm going to do a late night tonight and try and work through as much of this list as possible before I need to get on the customer jobs tomorrow. Apologies if I'm not filming a lot of it because a lot of it's boring anyway, but I just want to get it done and get it finished, ready to go to the powder coaters. Right, whilst I'm cracking on, I wanted to show you these, which is a nice little system for clipping wires and pipes to that I got taught a few years ago, but I thought it might be really good for showing you. So all it is an M12 washer that we put in vise and bent over, and you can weld that to your chassis or your frame or whatever, and then you can run a cable tie behind the washer and then run your wire, pipe or whatever you're putting in it in the sort of groove, and then it makes it all nice and tidy. So I'm going to put loads of these all over the cage for the brake pipes, all the wiring, breather pipes, fuel lines, all sorts of stuff, but it'll keep it dead tidy. So that's my job now. Right, it is the morning after the night before. I was literally here last night until 2 o'clock in the morning trying to get this finished. It wouldn't have been that late, but I ran out of gas for the welder halfway through. Couple that with the fact that yesterday was Mother's Day, so I couldn't spend all day here anyway. But it is now ready. It is now ready to go. So we're now taking this off to get it sandblasted and powder coated in gloss black. So the next time we see this, it'll all be shiny and new, which for you guys will be in the next episode, and for me it'll probably be in a couple of days. By the way, if you're wondering about timeline, I have now booked us onto our first race, which is in 6 weeks' time. And the car still looks like this. So when it gets back, we've got quite the job on to build a full car in 6 weeks. I know 6 weeks sounds like a long time, 5 days a week, 6 weeks or 5 days a week. But I've got customer jobs to fit around this, and usually I'm just doing this in the evenings. So it really isn't that long at all. Why do all my jobs come down to the last minute? Bloody hell. Right, see you next time.